Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you wanted to start something new? And in your overflowing excitement, you went ahead and bought all the gear and all the resources that you could possibly need, thinking that nothing could possibly put off your fire because you have found your calling after all. Except that 1 week later you quit. I have been there one time too many, and I know how frustrating and soul-crushing it can be to fail to maintain consistency, and it had prompted me to dig to the core of why this happens. So in this video, we will dive into 6 reasons why you struggle with consistency, and I will share my strategies that effectively help me to build consistency over time. So let's dive in. The first reason why you struggle with staying consistent is that you have difficulty managing negative emotions. There are mainly 2 reasons why we avoid taking actions. The first is trying to avoid a negative emotion. When you procrastinate on doing something, it often means that there is some perceived negative outcome that you are trying to avoid. Be it fear of the thing would not live up to your expectations, fear of judgment from others, the amount of perceived suffering that you have to endure to make the thing happen, or just the sheer amount of work required to finish the thing. There are many things. So we procrastinate because it's our brain's immediate relief to feeling overwhelmed. It doesn't feel good, so we just try to push it away and focus on things that actually feel good. Now, understanding this helped me develop a strategy to overcome the emotional hurdle. And that is simply recognizing that it's a natural emotional response that I don't need to take all too seriously, but that I should rather approach it with curiosity and just try to understand what's underpinning it. For example, if it's driven by fear of the thing not turning out as good as I imagine it in my head, then I try to lower my expectations a bit and set more realistic ones. Or if it's fear of overwhelm, then I try to break it down into smaller, manageable steps. Now, the second reason why you avoid taking action is that you lack clarity on what you need to do exactly. For example, let's say that you want to get fit. What does getting fit mean to you? Is it being able to run for 30 minutes straight without stopping? Is it building more muscle? Is it losing weight? Because the steps that you need to take to achieve any of these goals is quite different. One path could mean doing more cardio if you wanted to build endurance, and the other might mean lifting more weights if you wanted to put on more muscle. Without a clear goal, it's challenging to know which actionable steps you need to take in order to get to where you want to get. And if you don't know which steps you need to take, then it's harder to spring into action. And again, your brain will be happy to jump in here and make it to be this big, vague, impossible task that you could never do, and try to convince you that it's better to stay where you are. That is where it's most comfortable. The next reason why you struggle to stay consistent is that you lack a system. If you have been on this channel before, then you know that I talk about systems all the time. But what a system basically means, let's say that you have clarity now on what you need to do. This doesn't automatically translate to you actually doing the thing consistently if you don't have a plan on how to go about it by allocating time to specific tasks. And this is what a system aims to achieve. If your goal, for example, is to learn the piano, then the first thing you do is that you break it down into smaller, achievable tasks. For example, I aim to learn the Moonlight Sonata in 3 months. I can break this down further into learning scales, chords, and finger exercises. Now that I know that, it's easier for me to come up with a plan on how to go about it. For example, allocate 30 minutes every day to practice each of these and track progress. See where you need to change something, and so on. A system accomplishes 2 things mainly. Number 1 is time management, because you have already blocked time of the day for the task. And number 2, it reduces decision fatigue. You have probably heard of all those highly productive tech people who wear the same color shirt every day, because it's simply one less decision that they have to make on a daily basis. Similarly, having a system means that you don't have to waste energy every day debating with yourself whether it makes more sense to do finger exercises or chords today. It's already decided, so you take that energy and spend it on the action itself. Even when you have your goals perfectly planned out, you established a system, and everything seems in order, you will soon find it hard to stick to that system if you set the bar too high. For example, let's say that you decided to increase your endurance. If the plan that you came up with to achieve this includes running every day for 1 hour straight, when you have never even run before, you're not gonna stick to the plan. It's just impossible. Instead, start off by running, for example, 10 minutes 4 times a week. See if you like it. then you can gradually take it up as you build more fitness. So every time you find yourself struggling to get started or to stick to the plan, simply lower the bar. So if you don't feel like doing the run today, maybe run for 5 minutes or just do a walk. But trust me, you will feel much better if you take even a small action instead of no action at all. Now, the next reason that you struggle with consistency is that you don't have time. Now, let's be honest. How many times have you used the phrase, "I don't have time," to justify not doing something? Yet, strangely enough, you always seem to have the time to scroll endlessly on your phone for hours on end sometimes. Perceived lack of time comes from poor time management because, let's face it, even the busiest people in the world find time for the things that they value. So if you don't give something some of your time, then it often means that you simply don't value it enough. For example, he never struggles to stay consistent with making biscuits. Developing some time management skills by intentionally allocating time for tasks and time for rest will help you get a more realistic idea of what actually matters to you. And sometimes you might need a mind shift. For example, I have to go to the gym because otherwise I'm not fit and people will judge me and the neighbors will be mad and then I don't look good and then everything comes crumbling down. Instead, you can frame it as, I want to exercise because I want to take care of myself and improve my health. Lastly, you may find yourself struggling with consistency because there's too much friction to get to doing the action. What I mean by this, for example, I found myself less motivated to go to the gym when I have to go around my place hunting for my trainers and my shorts and my water bottle and whatnot. Instead, I realized if I put everything in one place, then all I have to do is just grab it and go. Therefore, just reducing the friction to actually doing the thing by being more organized or just by putting stuff where they need to be makes it a lot easier to stay consistent and stick to your plan. It might seem like a small thing, but trust me, it makes a world of difference. Neuroplasticity is a fascinating feature of our brains where continuous exposure to new ways of thinking, new habits, just rewires the brain. But remember that it's a process that takes time, so be patient with yourself. And if you feel like it, I would love to hear what you are struggling to stay consistent with at the moment. And it might inspire me to make future content about it. Until then, here is a random video I thought you might enjoy. Maybe I'll see you there.